Good morning. This morning I am doing a collaboration for the October pie recipes. This collaboration was started by Tammy at Little Jordan Farm, and she's invited lots of women to come and do pies so that we can have a month's worth of pie recipes and be geared up toward Thanksgiving. You can go to Tammy's Little Jordan Farm website and YouTube channel, and she has a playlist of everybody who's going to be doing these pies. And so she asked if we would do historical pies, and so this one is pretty historical. I've known of chocolate. I'm going to do chocolate meringue pie, and I've known of chocolate meringue since I was a little girl. And one of the recipe that I have used all of my life, I also found in a Confederate cookbook, and it's the exact same recipe with a little, they didn't have vanilla in theirs, but I'm putting vanilla in mine. But anyway, check out Tammy at Little Jordan Farm and see all the wonderful pies. Well, I was going to do this last night, but I had a surprise when I opened my oven. And I'm glad this is just a collaboration and not a contest, because I'd have never won it. Oop, the oven's hot and it's made that hot again. Give me just a second. But my pie crust, my pie crust shrank a lot. So I did break some of it off because I wanted to taste of it, and it tastes good. But so we'll have that with some Nutella or something on it. I'm going to make a new pie crust today. Stick with me because I have lots of tips other than how to keep your pie crust from shrinking. But stick with me. I've got tips all along the way. And so we're going to get started on a new pie crust this morning. The pie dough recipe I used was enough to make a double crust, so I've got an extra crust here that I put in the refrigerator overnight. And so we're just going to take it out. And I've got a floured cotton cloth here. I like using either cotton or linen on my pie crust. And just press it out in the shape of a pie in a circle. Press it out with your fingers, and then just start rolling. Okay, I've got a pie, a round circle here that's as thin as I want it, and if it's big enough, let's see. There's my pie pan, and you need a good amount to go to make up the difference for the slant of the pie pan. And so I've got a good inch all around. I'm going to go one more bit over here. It's kind of short. Okay, that looks like it will probably fill my pan pretty good. We'll put it over here for a minute. You roll it up on your dough roller. And fit it into your pie pan. Press it down in there and give yourself plenty of room. And hopefully this one won't shrink as much as the other one. I've never had a pie crust shrink as much as that one did. I've got some overhang, and that's okay. That's also insurance against shrinking. I'm not going to do a whole lot of detail on this one because I'm going to do another little tip that will also maybe help protect from the shrinkage. I'm going to use another pie pan. Oh, first you have to stab it with a fork. This will release steam underneath there. Parchment paper. I'm just going to lay it down in there. And put a pie plate on top of it. It's going in a 375-degree oven for about 20 minutes. I don't wash this cloth. I just shake out the flour and use it again. I put it in a Ziploc bag and it stays fresh. Okay, for the chocolate, we are going to start out. Here's another tip. When you have your recipe, put it in a plastic bag, use a magnet, and you can put your recipe right up there. It stays clean. We're going to start out with 1½ cups of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cocoa, and you can mix all of this right in your pan. Here's another tip. When you don't have a lot of cabinet space, you can use a cutting board across your sink or a cookie sheet across your sink, and that gives you an extra little bit of countertop space. But now that my pie crust is gone, I could actually move this over and get rid of that. Okay, 2 tablespoons of cocoa. And I'm using Hershey's Dark, Special Dark. We like this Special Dark. 2 tablespoons. 3 tablespoons of flour. A dash of salt. That's probably about a dash of salt. If you make hot cocoa at home, also put a dash of salt in your water for hot cocoa. It just brings out the flavor of the cocoa better. Dash of salt and a cup of milk. To make it extra rich, I'm going to add some heavy cream. And 4 eggs. I have duck eggs, so this is going to be really rich. You use the yolks in the pudding and you use the whites in the meringue. So they have to be separated. And always separate your eggs in a separate bowl. Just in case you break one or get some of the yolk in it, you can't have even a speck of yolk in your whites. Duck eggs, the white is thicker in a duck egg. Okay, so we're going to put the yolks right there. We're going to put the whites right there. Okay, we've got our sugar, cocoa, flour, salt, and our eggs. Egg yolks. We're going to turn the heat on to medium high and just start whisking this. You can cook this starting out with your eggs if you start out all together. And that way you don't have to stop and temper your eggs. So we're just going to get this all stirred up now. and it has to come to a boil. It's going to need to boil for about 3 minutes. So we're going to let that start cooking a little bit, and we're going to start in with our meringue. So sorry, I forgot a tip. I forgot to tell you a tip. Here's our egg whites, and they are about this, they have this much, it fills this container to about there. So make a note of how much egg white you have, and that's how much sugar you're going to use. So there's the egg whites, and here's the sugar. So from here, you just keep going back and forth from your pudding to your meringue. And we're going to start on low on the meringue until it starts getting kind of frothy. Another tip, you have to be very, very clean with your bowl and with your beater, because if there's any little speck of fat on your bowl or your beaters, these eggs will not start fluffing up. The fat will deflate your eggs. Okay, you can see they're a little frothy now. Looks like sea foam. So we're going to add some salt and cream of tartar. So cream of tartar, just a dash. And a little salt. This is beginning to get nice and thick, but it's not thick enough yet. Okay, I'm thinking that's going to be probably thick enough to hold its shape in a pie. So I'm going to go ahead and add the butter now. Stir that in. Let it get melted. There's my favorite Neanderthal with his caveman sounds. And we're going to put a teaspoon of vanilla in it.
As the man said, from Bora Bora, yum yum, heat 'em up.
Oh, he loved the Three Stooges.
That was Little Rascal.
Oh, Little Rascal, sorry. Okay. Everything's in there. Check your recipe again. 1½ cups of sugar, 2 tablespoons cocoa, 3 tablespoons flour, a dash of salt, half a stick of butter, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So we're going to pull this over to the side and just hold it for a minute. I'm also going to check the pie crust. I'm going to leave it in there for just a few more minutes. But it is browning nicely. The pan did help that to keep from shrinking so much. I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven off. Oh no, I need to leave the oven on, because we've got to toast this meringue when it gets done. So back to the meringue. Okay, we've gotten to a more of a soft peak at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and add just about a ½ teaspoon of vanilla in here. And then we're going to whip it just a little bit longer. We finally reached the stiff peak texture that I'm wanting. So we're going to just slowly turn the beaters on. And let as much of that egg come off of the beaters as possible. And guess what happens to these beaters?
Num num.
If I could get them out. There we go.
me and Whistle Britches.
Okay. Oh, and that is so good. If you don't like meringue, you can use Cool Whip. You want to lick this too, honey? Oh, that's good. Okay, here's the pie crust. I got it good and toasty. We're going to put the filling in there. Someone will make good use of that. And the pan. At this point, if you don't like meringue, it's finished. What else can you do? You can sprinkle pecans on it. You can sprinkle cookie crumbs on it. You can put Cool Whip on it. Change it up to your liking. You could even crush Starlight mints and sprinkle mint on it. Or those little mint cookies. Crumble some of them up and put on it. You can just change this up any way you want to. But since I'm making chocolate meringue, we're going to put this meringue on now. The pie shell is still hot. The pudding is still hot. And we are going to put this meringue on here now. And the trick with meringue is to get it all the way around the edge. Otherwise, it'll separate out from you and break down. Sometimes, even with all of this sealing and everything we do, it'll still break down and leave little tears. It's called tears. It's where the sugar weeps out and leaves little spots on your meringue. Doesn't change the taste, it just makes it not look as pretty. Make little swirls in it. And here, at this point, you could also take a chocolate bar and grate it and grate up some chocolate on it if you wanted to. We're going to stick it in the oven for about 15 minutes. It's at 375, and that will toast that meringue. See you in 15 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes has passed. We had time to clean the kitchen, and now it's time to look at our pie. I've got a cup of coffee, and my darling has his cup of coffee. So we'll just have to see what this looks like. He gets a big piece, and I get a little bitty piece. Well, it's a little sloppy presentation, but you know what? If we had company right now, family company, I don't think they'd fuss about a messy plate. It is a little bit of a job to make a homemade pie, but there's no comparison at all to a homemade pie versus a bakery pie, unless maybe you have a good deluxe bakery in your town, but most of them are just pretty much run-of-the-mill. So anyway, I'm going to have a bite of this. Oh my. Of course, we're eating it hot, so it hasn't set up completely. As it gets cooler, that'll be a little more stiff, but it's so good. So as I always say, this has been Granny B's recipe. Take it and make it your own, and go check out the playlist at Little Jordan Farm. You'll be glad you did. Bye-bye.